Hey everybody! So for today's Men-O craft, we're going to be learning a few ways to make our own paint. For the starter one, we're going to need about 3 ingredients, and that's baking soda, food colorings, and just some water. Now the water's just some I had left over. I don't have anything to stir with, so I'm using a stick because I found it on the ground. And I have this old ice cube tray that I'm going to put the paints in. Now this paint that we're making is going to be a watercolor paint, so at the end it's going to be a hard paint puck of sorts, and then as you add water, that's when you can paint. All right, so to begin, I'm going to start by putting some baking soda in 3 of these ice cube slots, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm shooting for about 3/4 full in each of the parts of the tray. I'm going to take a few drops of each color, put them in. I'm doing blue, green, and yellow, since those are my favorite colors. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. So that one I put in about 4 drops of food coloring. You could always do more or less. We'll see how it turns out. Experiment a little bit. I just like my colors to be pretty bright. All right, and then I'm just gonna stir that in just lightly. We'll have to add the water still, but just to get it going. I'm just kind of poking it down in there. And then again, I'm just gonna eyeball the water, just go little by little so we don't do too much. I may have just done too much, but we'll see. Okay, now I think I certainly made the green a little too watery. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of the leftover baking soda, sorry. Add a little bit of the leftover baking soda to thicken it up again. All right. See, now they're all mixed together, but they're not hard yet. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let it sit and wait. And I'll come back and check on it later, maybe tomorrow. And then when they're all hard, that's when you can start adding water to paint with them. All right, I'll come back soon.
Okay, so we're back with the watercolors to see how they turned out. I let them dry a couple days. You don't have to wait a couple days to use them, but I just did. And so when you go to use them, I would recommend, unlike real watercolor paints that you would buy at a store, you would just dip your brush in the water, dip in the paint, and then you could paint with this one. But for this one, I would suggest taking some of the water and dumping it just right into the paint, so that way you can get it, so then you can stir the paints and make it kind of like it was before it dried down. And so then it gets all the color up and you can paint with it. So I'm going to start with the green, and I'm going to paint an S for Sarah. Oh good, I'll dip in for more. All right, and then I'm going to go in the blue. I'm going to draw a heart. I had already dumped the water in the other 2 colors, so those were already ready. Add a little more blue. So then what's cool is with these is after you get them wet again and they're all stirred up, you can let them dry, so then you can come back later and use the same paints again, and just use them over and over again like you would real watercolors, sorry. I drew a star with the yellow, and all right, I'll let that have that dry a little bit. And there's my final product. I think they turned out pretty good. So I'm excited to see what all of you come up with, and let us know if you give this a try. All right, see ya. Hey everybody! So what we're doing today for making our own paints is using shaving cream and food coloring. One of my personal favorites. I'm just gonna get rid of that real quick. So I'm gonna start adding colors to each pile of shaving cream. For each plate I'm doing a different color. This one I'm gonna do green. I did about 4 drops. The more drops you do, the brighter your color will be, so that's up to you. And then I'm gonna add yellow on my other one. I accidentally added about 8 drops, so again, up to you. And then on this other plate, I have blue drops. And so we're gonna swirl them. You can mix them as much as you want, but I don't want them completely combined. So I'm just gonna swirl them a little bit with this stick because I'm outside and that's all I have at the moment. If you use your finger, just know the food coloring might stain a little bit. So keep that in mind. Okay, so for this, it's not gonna look like normal painting. Instead, what we're gonna do is press. Kind of use it like a stamp a little bit. I'm gonna set 2 colors off to the side because I'm not using those right away. Then I'm gonna take one of my pieces of paper. I'm using scrap paper with stuff on the other side because I don't need it anymore. I'm gonna lay my shaving cream food coloring mixture there. I'm going to lay this on top and press it on. And then I'm just going to peel it off. See that design? And then you're just gonna put it off to the side and let it dry. And then you got a cool design. I'm gonna try it with my other 2 now. I learned how to do this from my mom. She used to make birthday cards like this all the time. See? And this one turned out a little crazy. But when it's all dry and we scrape off the rest, it might have a cool design underneath. All right, so I just scraped off the blue one. And this is what it turned out to be. It's kind of fun from the other side too. So you still just want to let this dry so that way it's not so wet and see-through like it is right now. And then we're going to scrape off the green one together. You can choose how to do this a couple ways. With the blue one, I use the stick. I'll use that one to begin with again. And so I'm just going to scrape some off. Take that and put it on the ground. Okay. And then for the rest, there's a little bit left that is hard for the stick to get, so I just use my finger, wipe that off, use my finger, wipe that off, last one, and that's the final product of the green one. So to finish off the Make Your Own Paint episode, we are going to be painting with berries. This is something I've done since I was a little girl because I have a berry bush in my backyard. I have one right over there and one back there over by my garage. And it grows a few different types of berries like raspberries, wine berries, which is what I have here, and pokeberries. And they all come into season at different times during the summer. So right now while I'm filming this, it's like mid-July. The wine berries are in season. So I'm going to be using those. So for this, all you need is a piece of paper, your berries, and I use Q-tips as the paintbrush. I also brought this spoon so I can mash up the berries. So depending on the berry you use, the color can be totally different. So with the wine berries, I have this nice red. With the raspberries or the pokeberries, those usually come out more purple. And so you're just gonna mash it up till you get as much juice out of it as possible. And then we start painting. I've got my Q-tips right here, and let's see how the color turns out. All right, so here's my finished painting. I just wrote my name. Now, the wine berries have a bit lighter of a color, so you kind of have to go over it to make it show up. The pokeberries or raspberries or, I don't know, maybe blueberries, I think those ones would have darker pigmentation, especially the pokeberries. They're more likely to stain like your fingers if you were to touch it. So those stain the paper better when you're painting than these ones do. But I still think that the color turns out nice and it's just fun to do. All right, so those are 3 ways to make your own paints. Bye.